Let's go Dolphins! A major roster spot has just opened up, and rumors behind the scenes suggest a strategic shift that could shape our playoff run, and possibly the franchise's future. One name is at the center of it all, but believe me, it's not who you think. Before we reveal this bombshell news and what it could mean for the offense, the offensive line overhaul, and the unexpected impact of a certain tight end, don't forget to like this post if you're a true Dolphins fan. And if you've been rooting for the turquoise and orange for over 20 years, I want you to leave a comment saying, "Go Dolphins!" My heart bleeds aqua and orange. Let's get straight into it because there's a lot to unpack. Coming out of the bye week, the Dolphins made a strategic move by placing safety linebacker hybrid Jordan Colbert on injured reserve following a stinger and concussion suffered weeks ago. It's a move that, while expected due to his injury status, speaks volumes about the roster chess game being played in Davie. This isn't just about Colbert, it's about making room for a player coming off IR. And if you've been paying attention, all signs point to one name, Austin Jackson. Jackson's 21-day practice window has already opened, and the deadline to activate him is December 2nd. If he's not back by then, he's done for the season. And let's be real, Miami didn't open that window just to shut it. Expect him back for week 13 against the Saints. The return of Jackson as the starting right tackle would send Larry Borom, who filled in admirably, especially in Madrid versus the Commanders, back to the bench as the swing tackle. But here's where things get complicated and controversial. Austin Jackson is on the clock. He's under contract through 2026, and the numbers aren't light. $9.8 million base salary, a $15 million cap hit, $1 million roster bonus if he's on the team come March 13th. But he's missed major time again this season, just like last year. And while he has youth on his side, still just 26, the question that has to be asked is whether he's shown enough consistency and durability to warrant that long-term investment. Because let's face it, if Miami can't trust him to stay healthy or play at a high level, then this offseason could become the beginning of a search for a new bookend tackle opposite Patrick Paul. Paul, by the way, is shaping up to be a franchise-level player at left tackle. Can we say the same about Jackson? Not anymore. Now, shifting gears to the tight end position, the name on everyone's mind is Darren Waller. Placed on IR after the October 22nd game against the Browns, Waller has been eligible to return and has quietly been one of the Dolphins' most effective offensive weapons when healthy. In the 3 full games he played, against the Jets, Panthers, and Chargers, Waller reached the end zone 4 times on just 10 catches. That's insane production for a tight end with limited snaps. And if you go by the analytics, he ranks in the top 10 among tight ends in touchdowns, catch rate, yards per route run, average depth of target, and QB rating when targeted. He's only played 3.5 games. But here's the twist. Since Waller's been out, Mike McDaniel has gone rogue, and it's working. He's deployed a 6-man offensive line configuration, inserting Daniel Brunskill as an inline tight end. Yes, Brunskill, normally a guard or center, has logged more inline snaps since week 8 than any other tight end on the roster. And get this, he hasn't allowed a single pressure or sack in those reps. The offense, which ranked bottom 10 in EPA per play and rush success rate in the first 7 weeks, has surged since this switch. In the last 4 games, they're in the top half of the league across all offensive metrics, including play-action effectiveness, where Tua is now among the best in the league. Why is this important? Because it raises a critical question. When Waller returns, should the Dolphins go back to a traditional tight end formation or keep rolling with what's been working? The 6 linemen look with Brunskill and Julian Hill in support roles, and use Waller more as a slot receiver or X-wideout? The numbers suggest Miami's offensive success is directly tied to this personnel grouping change, and abandoning it just because Waller's back could be a mistake. Waller is a weapon, no doubt, but the structure, protection, and deception that Brunskill brings has created more space, more time for Tua, and more chances for guys like Jalen Waddle and Malik Washington to do damage over the middle. And here's where things get even more intriguing. We're not just talking about a personnel preference or schematic preference anymore. We're talking about the identity of this Miami Dolphins offense heading into the most critical stretch of the season. Because if Mike McDaniel decides to pivot back to a traditional tight end heavy approach once Darren Waller returns, he risks undoing a formula that's not only working, but elevating the performance of everyone on the field. Look at Tua Tagovailoa. Since this 6 lineman look became a staple, his play-action numbers have skyrocketed. Over the last 4 games, Tua ranks 3rd in play-action dropback percentage, 5th in yards per play, 3rd in completion percentage, 2nd in big-time throw rate, and 4th in QB rating. These are elite numbers, and they didn't start appearing until the change was made. The presence of an extra lineman has done more than protect Tua. It's opened up the middle of the field, created mismatches, and forced linebackers and safeties to hesitate just long enough for Miami's speed threats to find space. And it's not just Tua who's thriving. The entire rushing attack has found consistency that was missing in the first half of the season. From week 1 to 7, Miami's rush success rate was a disappointing 33.3%, ranking near the bottom of the league. But since the switch, that number has climbed significantly. And it's not because of some magical uptick in running back performance. It's because the structure of the offense has shifted, giving blockers better leverage and giving play callers more unpredictability to work with. In short, this new identity is working. So now McDaniel is faced with a critical decision. Darren Waller is close to returning, potentially by week 14 against the Jets if not sooner. But if he comes back and simply slides into the traditional tight end role that's now being handled by Daniel Brunskill and Julian Hill, it could disrupt the entire flow of what's been built. That's why the most logical solution is to redefine Waller's usage entirely. Keep him off the line. Use him as a big-bodied slot receiver, an X-factor in the red zone, a weapon you can move around to create mismatches without sacrificing the run-heavy, play-action efficient identity that's been developed in his absence. And while we're on the topic of usage and player evaluation, let's circle back to Austin Jackson. His potential return brings another layer of complexity. If Jackson comes back and underperforms, or worse, gets injured again, Miami could be looking at an offseason where replacing him becomes priority number one. His cap hit, injury history, and inconsistent play have placed him on thin ice. But if he returns and plays well, he could secure his place as the starting right tackle and allow Miami to focus on other needs this offseason. Still, if you ask me, and I know plenty of you have strong opinions on this, I think this front office should be scouting right tackles aggressively. Because even if Jackson finishes the year healthy, the body of work just hasn't been reliable enough. And the financial commitment looming in 2026 is not the kind of situation this franchise should walk blindly into. It's unfortunate because there was real hope that Jackson and Paul would become the long-term bookends on this line. But sometimes potential doesn't translate into consistency. And in this league, especially when chasing championships, availability is just as important as ability. So with all of this swirling, Jackson's return, Waller's looming comeback, the six lineman offense, and the playoff push, the Dolphins are approaching a fork in the road. Will McDaniel stay true to what's working and evolve Waller into a new role? Will the offensive line stay consistent with Brunskill as that sixth man? Will Austin Jackson prove he deserves to be a cornerstone moving forward? The answers to these questions could define how far this team goes in January. Because one thing's for sure, this isn't just about beating the Saints in week 13 or handling the Jets in week 14. This is about carving out an offensive identity that holds up under playoff pressure, against elite defenses, and in hostile road environments. The blueprint is starting to form. Now it's about committing to it, or risking unraveling the progress that's been made. If you're new here, make sure you're subscribed to the channel for the best Miami Dolphins coverage out there. Hit the like button if you're loving what you're seeing from this team, and check out the videos on screen now for more deep dives into this playoff-bound squad. Let's wrap this up the right way, because what's happening with the Denver Broncos right now isn't just a good run. It's a transformation. Sean Payton has gone from a coach with a vision to a leader of a movement. His attitude has become the team's DNA, resilient, aggressive, unapologetic. He's not just trying to win games, he's rebuilding the identity of a franchise that's been searching for its voice for years. The players have clearly bought in. You can see it in the way they fight through tough games, in the leadership on the field, and even in the younger guys stepping up in big moments. The chemistry is real. Guys like Jaquan Barron are proving they belong. Pat Surtain's potential return gives the defense even more depth. The energy is contagious. But it's also a razor's edge. The Broncos can't afford to slip. With injuries to manage and a tough schedule ahead, execution will be everything.